The sky above Keth 7 was dark red. The air was hot, dry, and full of strange smells. Across the wide plains, nothing moved except danger. For more than 300 years, the Galactic Council had used this planet to test the best soldiers from every species. Only the strongest, smartest, and most ruthless warriors came here. Most never returned. Cadet Jiho stood alone, crouched behind a tall crystal rock. His hands shook slightly as he held his plasma rifle. Blood was dripping from his left arm. Sharp thorn scale had cut him earlier. Now, the smell of human blood was in the air. He knew what that meant. Something out there would smell it, and it would come. Jiho looked around. There were no allies left. All the other cadets aliens from different worlds were gone. Some had screamed. Some had died without a sound. The ground was their grave. The Valix warriors, with their stone-like skin and strong arms, were the first to fall. Their confidence made them loud. The wild creatures of Keth 7 tore through them like paper. Then came the Mindari. They had great minds, could speak without words. But no amount of thought could stop a beast's claws. Even the Nexari, with glowing armor and fast computers, had failed. Their shields broke. Their pride died. Now Jiho was the last one, the last human. He wasn't even supposed to be here. Everyone said humans were weak. Humans worked in labs or built machines or taught in schools. They weren't made for battle. At least that's what the council said. But Jiho had grown up listening to old stories from his grandmother. How humans used to chase animals for days until they dropped. No tools, no tech, just patience, just will. He wanted to prove those stories were true. A deep sound echoed through the land. Jiho froze. He knew that sound. It was a Devastator, the apex predator of this world. It stood over 12 feet tall, its skin black and shining like stone, 6 burning eyes, long claws that could rip through ships, muscles thick as trees. Even the toughest soldiers feared it. Jiho stayed low, but the Devastator was already close. It walked with slow, careful steps. It was not afraid. It was never afraid. It moved like it owned the world. Then it stopped. Its head turned toward Jiho's hiding place. It sniffed the air. It smelled his blood. Jiho didn't run. He didn't move. His heart beat hard in his chest, but he remembered something. Don't panic. His grandfather once told him during a hunting trip on Earth, breathe slow. Let the animal look. Let it think. Show no fear. Closed his eyes for a second, then opened them again. The Devastator stepped closer. The ground shook under its weight. Jiho raised his rifle but didn't fire. The predator stood just a few meters away now. Its 6 eyes stared right at him. It sniffed again, louder, longer. Jiho waited for the attack, but it didn't come. Instead, the Devastator tilted its head. It sniffed once more, this time slower. Its eyes narrowed. Then something strange happened. It didn't growl. It didn't roar. It stepped back. Jiho blinked. The creature looked. Unsure. He saw it in its body, in its movements. The Devastator, the strongest predator on this planet, was confused. It sniffed the air again. But now, it looked nervous. Jiho suddenly understood. It wasn't just smelling blood. It was reading him. The chemicals in his sweat. The scent of fear. It's a story of his species written in biology. Humans had survived every kind of danger. Ice, fire, war, disease, famine. They had no claws, no wings, no fangs. But they always got back up. Always came. Back that scent, it told the Devastator. This thing won't stop. Jiho saw the change in its eyes, and then it lowered itself to the ground. Slowly, carefully, it rolled onto its back. It showed its belly. The strongest creature on Keth 7 was playing dead, not because it was weak, but because it understood. Jiho's kind didn't chase for hunger. They chased for survival. They never gave up. He stood up slowly, rifle still in hand. The Devastator stayed down. It didn't blink. It didn't breathe loud. It was waiting. respecting, maybe even fearing. Jiho walked past the giant beast. Each step felt like a question, but nothing stopped him. Nothing attacked. He reached the edge of the trial zone. A beacon light flashed, pressed the signal for extraction. As the wind blew across the red sand, he looked back one last time. The Devastator was still there, still playing dead. Maybe it knew it wasn't the only predator anymore. Jiho stood inside the silver extraction pod. It rose slowly from the red planet, leaving the deadly plains of Keth 7 behind. His body hurt. His arm was still bleeding. His mind was quiet but alert. He had done it. The test was over. He was the only one who made it out alive. As the pod broke through the clouds, he looked out the window one last time. The Devastator was still there, lying on its back. Still pretending to be dead? It hadn't moved. Jiho didn't smile. Only nodded once like he was answering a question that no one else could hear. The Galactic Council's warship orbited, high above Keth 7, inside its great hall. Species from across the stars watched the live feed with wide eyes and stunned silence. No one spoke. No one could explain what they had just seen. The strongest predator on the planet. It played dead because of a human. A boy, Jiho stepped off the pod and into the chamber. His suit was torn. His boots were bloody. His eyes looked calm but tired. One of the Nexari generals stood up. He had long arms, wires growing from his skull. "What technology did you use?" the general asked. "None," Jiho replied. "Did you poison it?" "No." "Then what happened?" Another voice asked, this time from the tall, the blue-skinned Mind Ari leader. Jiho looked around the room. They were all waiting for some trick, some secret. But there was none. "I just survived," he said. They waited for more. But he didn't give them more. One of the council observers pulled up a scan of the event. The Devastator's brain activity had changed when it smelled Jiho's blood. It had entered a defensive state, not because it was hurt, because it felt something. It smelled. "Threat," the observer said slowly. It chose to avoid combat. "But why?" asked the Volix war captain, frowning. "It has killed thousands before. Why not one weak human?" "Shh." Jiho's eyes stayed steady. "Maybe it knew," he said. "I wasn't going to run." The room fell silent again. They had seen humans as soft, easy to control, a useful support race. But this one, he didn't scream. He didn't fight. He didn't beg. And the beast, the greatest beast, didn't want to face him. Because humans didn't. Stop. They endured. They survived. They always came back. Later, in a quiet room, Jiho sat alone. A medical droid cleaned his arm. He didn't say much. He was thinking about Earth. He thought about his sister, Yunji. She had died a soldier. Everyone respected her, but they had looked at Jiho like he didn't belong. Maybe now, that would change. A soft beep came from the wall. The door opened. A young officer stepped in. She wore a silver badge, the sign of a senior cadet. Her name was Mira. She was from Earth. "Two?" She looked at him like he was something new. "They're calling you the Quiet Predator," she said, sitting beside him. Jiho shook his head. "I didn't do anything special," Mira smiled. "You didn't have to. That's why they're scared." He looked at her. "What do you mean you didn't need armor? Tricks? Or power?" she said. "You just didn't give up. And that's worse for them. That scares them more." He stayed quiet, but her words stayed with him. A few days. Later, the council made an announcement. For the first time in history, human had passed the Keth 7 survival trial. Not by killing, not by running, but by making the apex predator choose not to fight. They didn't understand it fully, but they couldn't ignore it. Whispers spread across the stars. About the boy with the bleeding arm and steady hands. About the Devastator that backed away. About the human who didn't quit. Jiho returned to Earth weeks later. His people welcomed him like a hero, but he didn't feel like one. He felt different, like something had changed, not just in him, but in how the galaxy saw his kind. Humans had always survived quietly now. The stars were finally watching. Back on Keth 7, far from cities and councils, the red plains burned under twin suns. The Devastator had moved again. It walked carefully now. Its path avoided the old trail where Jiho had bled. Other creatures had begun avoiding it. 2. Something new had entered the ecosystem. A scent, a memory, a warning. Something even predators feared, because once human bled here, and the world remembered.